Well, all sorts of great and cool gardens here in Austin, Texas. Thanks for sharing your garden with us. And we're going to meet now Chris Camacho from Peckerwood Garden. Peckerwood, the premier private garden in the state of Texas, really renowned here. Chris, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Well, thank you.
And how long have you been working at Peckerwood now?
I've been there for 3 years now.
Okay, and for folks who are unfamiliar with this, it's obviously got an unfamiliar or funny-sounding name, actually. But describe Peckerwood for our viewers out there.
Well, Peckerwood was started in 1971 by Professor John Fairey and is a conservation and experimental garden for plants native to the Americas, most notably those rare plants native to Mexico and Texas.
Yeah. And for people who, that all sounds great and fascinating, a conservatory garden for rare plants, obviously already a couple of good hooks, but it's the way that they're presented, really, that is astonishing at Peckerwood. This is a unique aesthetic, and it's like going to almost like another planet, really. It's so beautiful and exotic and overblown.
Really is. The juxtaposition of the plants mimics what you can find in Mexico, for example, with the pine trees intermingling with oaks and intermingling with the cactus, and all in the same view of each other.
Right.
And it actually, with its diversity, is reflective of the natural setting of Mexico.
Hempstead, Texas is the location,
Yes.
and the heavy clay soils there, and it led to some interesting adaptations in the way a lot of these plants are planted in the little hillocks and little mounds.
Right, everything there is planted a little bit higher than usual because of our heavy rain season when it does come, and also for us to have an ability to amend the soil to the plant's liking.
Yeah. Well, the end result, though, is really quite striking. You know, it's got this kind of wavy, lunar kind of landscape kind of thing going on there. And one of the things that happens at Peckerwood, aside from the ability for the public to come out and visit occasionally, there's an educational component to what you do. And I understand there's some particular series coming up that you wanted to highlight.
It's coming up, we will have our winter lecture series, which will begin in January and continue into February, and will feature a slideshow lecture of John Fairey's trips into Mexico, as well as a tour of the garden.
Yeah. And these trips, I have to say, are pretty famous plant collecting trips, right?
They've continued on for the last couple of decades, and over hundreds of species of seed have been collected, and Peckerwood now serves as a distribution point for these very rare seeds.
Right. So the conservancy side of this is that you're collecting these very rare plants and then disseminating them out quite literally.
Yes, so now we have our own propagation facility, and we have a seed database so that we are able to share our work and the seeds with everybody.
And in addition to having the lecture series, the garden itself just opens to the public several times during the course of the year. And Peckerwood has been selected by the Garden Conservancy, which is a national organization, as a garden to be maintained in perpetuity. Yes. And part of their program, the Garden Conservancy's program, is to have what they call open days tours of the gardens where the public can come in. When are they going to be happening in this year?
The 2010 Open Days season will kick off in the last weekend of February with special events such as a Ask the Experts booth, as well as a rare plant sale and more. Also the last weekend in March, and then Open Days also in April and May. And if for more information, please visit our website at peckerwoodgarden.org for more information about the Open Days and the Winter Lecture Series.
Well, I think that sounds wonderful. There's a lot of opportunities there. I know it's a beautiful website, lots of cool imagery, so people can get a taste of the garden there as well. One of the things we wanted to do today, Chris, is talk about some cool plants that y'all have found that you really like to highlight during the wintertime. Let's start by talking about one of my favorite plant families. Is the deciduous magnolias. I love deciduous magnolias, and Magnolia soulangeana is probably one of the more common forms of the deciduous magnolias, but a good performer here in Texas.
It's adaptable to a wide variety of soils and climates, and it's very forgiving to the Texas gardener. and grows best in shade to part shade, and is deciduous and flowers in the wintertime with about 5 to 7 inch tulip-shaped flowers.
People call them tulip magnolias, in fact, yeah.
Yes. Very easy to grow and very rewarding, especially in the winter season.
There's something about that moment in the spring when they bloom, when you have about a week there where those flowers are born out almost candle-like at the edge of the branches. And it is, to me, magical. It is like the announcement of spring, because they bloom very early, typically.
Very early, often for us at the very latter end of winter into the spring season.
Yeah.
And this is the time of the year, winter being our heaviest blooming season, with all our unusual types of Mexican natives and Asian deciduous magnolias.
Well, I'm sure this is going to be quite a sight. So Magnolia solangiana, tulip tree magnolia is another common ways of calling them. Great plant. Now there's a Mahonia that you wanted to highlight as well. We have a little Mahonia in the hill country, but tell me about the one that you all have grown. It's from Mexico, correct?
The Mahonia chochoca is native to northeast Mexico from the temperate forests, and it is a evergreen tree, often with curly leaves.
Tree size.
Tree size, up to 15 to 20 feet tall.
Yeah, that's tree size.
Definitely qualifies, and it has sprays of bright yellow fragrant flowers, which absolutely are adorable and very exciting for the winter season. And in the springtime, they're followed by bushels of vividly blue berries. And
Terrific.
it serves as an excellent wildlife and migratory bird feeder.
Are the flowers that real kind of small, little globular shape?
Little ball-shaped yellow flowers that there may be a couple hundred on and one branch at a time.
Awesome. Okay, so Mahonia chochoca.
Chochoca, yes.
Okay, and another one of the rare and cool plants that you've got. Now there's a prunus species as well, and this is flowering apricot, Prunus mume.
It's the Prunus mume, also the Japanese apricot. It is an edible apricot. The tree is related to the cherry, so the wood is very deep red and very dense as well. And in the winter months, after all the leaves have fallen, the flower buds begin to appear and open up on the top of these skeletal outlines of all these Prunus mumes. And the colors range from deep crimson, yellows to whites.
Yellow.
There's also a yellow variety.
Wow,
yes.
cool. I've never seen a yellow prunus, I don't believe. And are they a double form?
They are a double form of flower.
Yeah. Okay, so that really full cherry blossom look.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Prunus mume, or Japanese flowering apricot. Okay, that sounds delicious.
It is
a really good plant.
And the cut branches also make beautiful flower arrangements, which the flowers last for several weeks.
Okay, and then there's a camellia to go along with it, the Japanese theme here, Camellia higo, and this is, you say, is a variation of the Japanese camellia.
It's believed so. At first, it was believed that rusticana was the ancestor to this cultivar, but it's now believed that the japonica is its truer form.
Okay.
And it is a exceptionally large flower, a single form flower. And
singles are great.
it's a very simple and looking flower. And also, the most unusual characteristic of the higo is the very large stamens, which burst out from the very center of the flower.
Ooh, so a single flat flower with large petals and big bright stamens?
A big sunburst of stamens coming right from the center.
Oh, this sounds really cool. So plant sale, I'm putting this together in my head here, Chris. I'm trying to withdraw from some of this plant addiction, but you're making it kind of hard for me. Again, people can find out information about open days and the plant sales and all that information at peckerwoodgarden.org.
Yes.
And it takes about an hour and a half from Austin, you'd say, to get to Peckerwood?
About an hour and a half to 2 hours if you take it easy, and it's located about 40 miles west of Houston.
Okay. Well, terrific. Well, Chris, thank you for coming over and sharing information about Peckerwood and Open Days Tour and all the other cool things that are going on over there. And coming up next, it's our friend Daphne with Down to Earth.